How can you pray over those situations so that they can go more smoothly, be more full of joy, be more full of peace? Hi, welcome to Seeking to Remain. My name is Kate. Thanks so much for joining me at this little corner of the internet where we talk about the upcoming Sunday Gospel and some practical applications for how you can apply it in your everyday life. This week we're starting to really talk about, we've been talking about the kingdom of heaven for a long time, but we're starting to talk about the kingdom of heaven in terms of the end times. As we draw closer to Advent, we start to think about the second coming of Jesus and when that will be. How do we know when that will be? What's that going to look like? How do we get ready? All that kind of stuff. So today we're talking about the 10 virgins, 5 wise and 5 foolish, that were going out to meet the bridegroom. And Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is like waiting for the bridegroom to come. And so there were 10 virgins altogether. And Jesus says in his parable, 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones, when taking their lamps, brought no oil with them, but the wise brought flasks of oil with their lamps. Since the bridegroom was long delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. I wasn't really sure how to do like a quick, how to apply this to your life situation until I read my Jerome biblical commentary, which is this crazy massive book. One of my daughters asked me if St. Jerome wrote the commentary. And I was like, no, he's, a little before the commentary. He is actually the saint that translated the whole Bible into Latin. So we owe a lot to St. Jerome, and that's why this commentary is named after him. That aside, the commentary talked about how this is an interesting parable of Jesus's, because oftentimes when we're talking about the end of the world or the second coming, the coming of the kingdom of heaven, Jesus and St. Paul both talk about vigilance and stay awake, stay alert. You don't know the time, you don't know the place, you need to be ready, stay awake, stay alert. But in this story, everybody falls asleep, which is kind of interesting. And the commentary talked about how this parable is more about foresight than vigilance. It's okay that everyone fell asleep. The wise ones were prepared for the possibility that the bridegroom would be long delayed, and the foolish were not. So it's this attitude of preparation, of being aware of the possibility that things might not go according to plan, and therefore planning accordingly for this ambiguity in terms of timing. And I thought that was interesting. And to think about how often we know where we have problems with sin. We know that there are certain circumstances that lead us into temptation, or certain people or environments that either entice us to a sinful activity or that provoke a sinful reaction from us. With the holidays coming, there's lots of family gatherings, there's lots of work gatherings, there's lots of unstructured time. There's lots of time spent with people in festive environments. And sometimes that can cause tension or discord or, whatever family member in the corner that has different political views than you or different religious views than you, that this is your one time together. You all know, kind of what I'm talking about. So having some foresight for what is coming this week, tomorrow, or all the way through the next month and a half, and how to prepare yourself for those moments. Do you need to start praying today for wisdom for what to say to that family member or not to say to that family member when, the evening has gone on, everyone has celebrated, and maybe opinions are being shared more freely? Do you need to look at your schedule and be aware of the fact that you're going to be really busy? And when you're really busy, that means you should be praying more so that you can be busy well. Do you need to look at your schedule and start to carve out specific times or days when you are not going to be busy so that you can spend time with God? If you're going to be traveling, how are you going to make sure that you get to Mass every Sunday? If you're going to be staying with relatives, how are you going to be sure to still have that one-on-one time with God, or with your spouse, or with your children, or with whomever it needs to be with? I really liked this reading here in this place, this idea that, yes, we need to be vigilant in the moment when we get to that relative's house, or when we get to that work party, or get to wherever, where we know that things could get kind of dicey. We need to be vigilant in that moment. But we also can prepare ahead of time. So I would encourage you this week to kind of walk through what this next month and a half is going to look like for you. Where are your triggers going to be? Where will you need extra fortification or grace or wisdom or discernment? Of course, we can't foresee every situation, but you've been around the block before. This isn't your first Christmas with these people, likely. How can you pray over those situations so that they can go more smoothly, be more full of joy, be more full of peace? I hope that you're able to take some time this week to do that, to spend some thoughtful time considering how you can bring Jesus into these situations, into these people, into these relationships. I hope that you have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week.